So this week's going to be fun. So we started off this week talking about, we're going to do episode 14 on the kitchen. However, since we're having some camera problems here, what we're going to do is we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to have the first episode of our audio version of the podcast go up as episode 14 of the kitchen, right? And we're going to do something a little bit different too. The conversation's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a little bit heavier. Because why not, right? You know, why not talk about some things that people want to talk about and people want to hear about, people want to listen about. So, you know, we've actually been sitting down having a conversation for like 3 or 4 hours now. So we're just going to kind of continue that, you know, because we always do this thing where in the middle of talking, we're like, yo, hashtag should have been a podcast.
Should have been a podcast.
So let me let you guys in on, you know, who you're listening to right now. Right now it's just me and the partner, the homie, Author Yves, myself being Twitch for Life, the two members of the kitchen right now, since MrBroadcast and the Sandman had a date. MrBroadcast, the hardest working man in podcast history. Y'all don't understand how much work that man does. That man is amazing at what he does. But anyway, so kind of what we've been talking about is in our society today. And when I say today and I say our society, I'm really talking about the younger generation. And, you know, in 2018, there is a fundamental lack of ability to have an effective conversation and formulate an intelligent debate based on factual information. And we see it all over the place, and people take advantage of this fact. On different podcast series on YouTube, and you know, we've been watching this stuff all day, and we've been seeing it for a while. And the problem isn't the information, right? Because it's okay for people to have differences of opinion, and I think that's another issue that I think we maybe will touch on a little bit later or something like that. But it's okay for people to have a difference of opinion, because that's what makes us work, and that's what makes us unique. But the problem is when you can't separate your emotional response to factual information, right? Like when you can't take away the emotion about a fact from the fact that it's a fact, we have an issue, you know? And what it does is even if you're an intelligent individual having a conversation with someone else, the moment your emotions get the best of you is the moment you look like an idiot.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I don't necessarily want to call anybody stupid or idiot or anything like that, but at that moment, that's what you look like.
It's
right?
really easy for the conversation to devolve into kind of a spitting match. Who's got the most facts, who's got the loudest words, like who can shout the loudest. I think that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, for sure. I was reading a book one time. The book is the Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield, I believe. And in the book, they describe a number of different insights, and these insights describe how people should learn to interact with one another on many, many different scales. There's 9 insights in that book. They even have another book called The 10th Insight. That's a sequel to that book. But one of the insights, and I can't remember exactly which one, but one of them talks about what happens with individuals in an argument. And it was talking about the exchange of energies, right? And so when someone begins to argue with someone else, it's a fight for the other person's energy, to take that person's energy in an argument. And ever since that was explained to me in that book, I see conversations and arguments different now than I used to in the past. And so, when an argument is a fight for power, it's I'm going to show you how much bigger and stronger and masculine and intelligent I am over you, right? A conversation is completely different because a conversation is about mutual empowerment between two people, right? And in a conversation, you willingly give your energy to the other person to empower them, and they give you their energy to empower you, and then you both become more empowered and energized for the rest of the day. And that's what happens inside of a conversation. And we need to.
That's what should happen.
That's what should happen inside of a conversation, right?
Yeah.
In an effective conversation,
Mm-hmm.
And you and I have conversations all the time where we don't agree on things,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, sometimes once in a while it does get a little bit heated, but we walk away and we come back and whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But most of the time it's effective in making us both more intelligent because we share facts, then we share opinions, right? And then we discuss those facts and opinions and how they apply to us and how we can use this knowledge of each other's experiences in order to grow as people and then be better and be more effective in our circles of influence.
And what I think another thing it does, and maybe this just is another level of looking at this, but it allows us to communicate with one another better, and it allows us to develop this sense of empathy in what we're talking about, how we're feeling, and like I think we all have very different experiences,
Mm-hmm.
and no two people will ever share the same experiences.
Yeah.
But having conversations, open conversations where they're not battles, they're sharing. I think that's what a conversation is sharing one another's experiences. And so in doing so, you can kind of understand the other person more fruitfully.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would definitely agree with that. It's a shame when you see a conversation break down because a person is out of facts or out of information, and then they begin to attack the other person's intelligence or the other person's character. You know what I mean? By using, racial epithets or, calling the person stupid or idiot or saying you're full of whatever. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like at that point, the conversation's over. You know what I mean? And you can no longer pull anything positive from that scenario. And I see it happen so many times. And we've all been victim of it at least once. At least once we've been a victim of it. You know what I mean? And you try not to be a victim of it again, but then somebody says something about something you're passionate about, and it's like, you done got me, right? It's a trap. Cheese on the board, and you feel like a mouse chasing the cheese around the labyrinth. Mm. You know what I mean? Because you know good and well that this person has no idea what they're talking about, and you know what you're talking about, but they have put you in this trap where they have your emotions, figuratively by the throat. Mm-hmm. And you're like, they got me. They got me.
Well, I think there's, and I mean, throwing out books here, we're talking about like Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. One of his stories, because the entire book is a collection of stories that help you understand the lesson that he's trying to impart. And one of his stories, I'm not going to go into the story itself, but the idea that he ended up with was that no one wins a conversation. Even if you think you have the upper hand, if you walk out of that conversation with the trophy, the other person just doesn't want to talk to you. Like the purpose of conversation is to build a connection with somebody else, mm-hmm. an interpersonal relationship. And if at the end of that conversation, that person doesn't want to have any kind of relationship with you, you failed.
You failed, right? You get a big fat F.
Yep.
You do get a big fat F, man. And it's unfortunate to see a breakdown in our, especially people like my age and younger, who do have so many opinionated views on things that are set in so many different emotions. And I would say this to those people, regardless of what your views are. If you find yourself being heated, or let's not say heated. Let's say if you find, let's be very clear about these emotions. If you find yourself getting angry, overjoyed, or passionate to the point of wanting to be physically louder than someone else in order to get your point across, you're no longer having a conversation.
No.
At this point, you are now having an argument where the only thing you're trying to do is win. Arguments are like playing checkers. Everybody's looking to get the flying king, right? And the only way to get the flying king is to yell over another person, right? But in a conversation, you can come equipped with factual information and then opinions based on facts, and then both people win. We're not playing a checkers game anymore. You're sitting down, you're having coffee, right? At the end of coffee, guess what? Everybody's got energy because they have caffeine in their system, right? The conversation is your metaphorical caffeine, right? And you need that caffeine in your veins to get on with the rest of your day. But when you have an argument, you feel drained and sluggish. It's like eating fried chicken. You know what I mean? There's a whole bunch of MSG in this.
Going back to you made the comment about like younger people our age and younger who feel the need to be loud and to be passionate about their arguments. I think that stems from this idea of self-identity and how, I mean, I think throughout life we're constantly rewriting our own identities, who we are, who we believe we are, and I think that at a certain age, people tend to get a little more comfortable with who they are, and at that point, it's no longer necessary to argue for that.
Right.
But I think in these younger, more formative years, since we don't really understand what this identity what these identities that we prescribe to are, that it's a little, I don't know, it's a little more of a personal thing when we don't feel attached to that identity, when something like an idea comes across that doesn't fit within our narrative.
Right. And I can understand the need to identify everything, because we all do it, and that's how you get through life, is you identify things, whether it's things within yourself or the things going on outside yourself, right? You identify things, and that's how you stay safe, right? And that's what people do instinctually. Is that that's how we stay alive. That's our basic instinct of being self-aware, right? Is identifying the things around us and then rating them dangerous or not dangerous. Right. And what I'll say is this: is you go through to a certain number of years in life, and I'm getting there now at 30, 31, about to be 32. He's making 30 this year, guys. So, but I'm getting there now, 31. I'm about to be 32, right? And one of the things I notice is I don't want to go back and re-identify things that I've already identified, right? Because it almost feels like taking a step backwards. And I think young people need to understand that. I understand that they're just still discovering the world and all the things that's in it, right? And if you want to identify something as one thing, that's great. Go and rediscover that. Go and change that. If you see a problem in the world, I think the quote by Mahatma Gandhi is the best. You must be the change you wish to see in the world. Like, that's what that's saying, right? If you want to see something be different, go be different, right? However, what that doesn't say is, if it doesn't say make everyone else the change you wish to see in the world.
Exactly. There's a big difference between self-identity and then projecting that identity on other people.
Absolutely.
Who you think are within your tribe, and I think that's kind of where this whole bringing it back to the United States, like that's in this culture that we're living in now, the idea of this tribalism, this like who we are surpasses that of who I am. It's kind of scary seeing people attack one another over their beliefs, over their feelings, instead of like empirical evidence.
Right. One thing that I'll say is your right to be you only extends as far as my right to be me extends. You know what I'm saying? So when your right to be you starts to affect my right to be me, right, and my life and my freedom of speech, like that's a problem, right? That's a fundamental issue that you have with your understanding and with your place in the world, right? And there is a level of humility that comes with understanding that, hey, I'm different, and I understand the fact that I'm different, right? I don't need to force everybody else to conform to me, right? Because I feel empowered in the fact that I'm different, right? I learn things different than everybody else, and that empowers me, right? But I don't go shove it in everybody's face saying you need to teach me different because I learned different. No, I need to go teach me different because I learned different, right? You just tell me the topics and stuff like that. Okay, you can teach me. I don't understand anything you're saying now, and I know, okay, I need to learn this topic, and this topic. I'm gonna go back and teach me the way that's more effective for me. But I don't need you to change the way you do things, right?
Right.
I already spent 25 years of my life learning me, right? I get me, and I get who I am, and I get where my place in the world is, and so now I know how to effectively coach myself, right? And I think that idea is completely lost on some individuals, where they believe that the world is set up for them, and it's a very narcissistic thing to believe. You know what I mean? And I know that that's a heavy word for a lot of people, but it's true.
And it's okay that it's true. I mean, it's
right.
You have to live in as a narcissist up to a point to really, hammer down that idea of who I am, hammer down that idea of individualism.
Sure, absolutely. I think that if the words used to describe your characteristics offend you, then you have one of two choices, right? And I say this is a phrase I have said for the last 10 years of my life that has stopped me from overanalyzing things that don't need to be overanalyzed, and it has saved me a number of times, right? In life, with every decision that you make, there's only one of two outcomes. Either you're going to be where you at, or you're going to be somewhere else. That's it. That's all you got. If you don't like where you at, then be somewhere else. If you don't like where you're at after that, then be somewhere else again. You know what I'm saying? You always have those two choices. And the same thing applies, going back to, what I was stating is if those words offend you, then you can either accept it or change it, right? Change your characteristic. If you don't want to be narcissistic, then stop being narcissistic. If you're okay with being narcissistic, then it's cool, right? I have plenty of people in my life that are narcissistic people. Plenty of people in my life that are, complete buttholes, right?
You can't see right now, but I'm raising my hand to that first.
Right? It's not. It doesn't make you a bad person. It's simply a descriptive word for the rest of us to understand where you are in the world.
Isn't that kind of the case with so much of what there's such a big difference between social identity and self-identity?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, society will see things one way, and a person will see things a completely different way. And I think it becomes dangerous when we force personal views into societal views. Right. You have to keep them inherently separate, because groupthink is a thing.
Yeah.
Right. there's a reason why I don't like big crowds of people. Right? It's not because I don't like individuals, it's because I don't like people. And when I say people, I mean the unit, right? People is a collective of individuals, and when individuals get together and become a collective, they think as a group, and then that group is inherently less intelligent than the individuals.
Right.
And that is what makes me completely nervous.
Yeah.
You know,
it's the idea of like, what are they? Lemmings, the little animals
yes.
that one will jump off a cliff and the rest will follow.
Do you know I played that game on a floppy disk?
That's funny.
Anyway, back to the original comic. But
yeah,
yes,
I mean, yeah, that's there's my I think I don't know if it was my grandmother or my mother were telling me a story about my grandmother and grandfather getting onto a boat for my grandfather was like a post office manager, head, whatever.
the station manager.
Yes.
My dad was a station manager.
Was he?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so he was like he was the head of this post office, and like they had like these retreats that they would go to every year. And in one of these retreats, people were there's supposed to be a boat, like a ferry cruise line, and the queuing time took longer than necessary. So when the line started to form to get up onto this boat, people would start to line up, and then you know how people kind of like get into the line, and the line has to move to adjust, and people would start getting pushed forward, and like they're walking up a small ramp onto this boat, and so things started getting dangerous where like people just kept pushing and shoving, and like it kind of turned into a health hazard. Yeah. And my I don't know if it was my grandmother or grandfather, like took the family out of the way, and they're like, you know, it's not this important. Like we need to stop and think of ourselves. Don't think about being part of that group. Don't join in just because it's what everybody else is doing.
Right. And just to throw a monkey wrench in you guys' thought process right now as you're going, well, I'm not part of that group. Not being part of that group is also part of another group that's not part of the group. just to throw a monkey wrench in that idea. You're always going to be part of some group, and you need to be okay with the fact that you're going to be part of some group, whether small or large. It is a group, right? Whether it's a group of normal people, or which is the majority. The majority is normal, or the abnormal. You know what I mean? Which is the smaller minority. Then there's another group on the side of you that say, well, I'm not part of either one of those groups, right? There's a group for you too. It's called not part of either one of those groups. You know what I mean? Because on a pie chart, everything fits in it, right? Even if it's undefined, everything fits in the pie chart.
I think it's kind of something, who was it? Is a philosopher. I want to say it was Carl Jung. Okay. Jung, however you say his last name.
Is it more of an Asian last name?
I think he's like, I want to say he's Swiss.
Oh, never mind. Sorry.
So I don't know how to pronounce it.
We've been playing a lot of video games with like Asian last names, so immediately I'm like, let's put that in that. Anyway, go ahead.
But he said something about there's multiple steps to that idea of building an identity, and the first step is to join a group, find your group and become part of it. Then the next step is to separate yourself from that group, find your differences, because being part of a group, you will always be a part of, as you said, you will always be part of a group, but there is inherently something different about you than everybody else within that group. Right. And it is important to be able to see that and know that, and realize that just because two people, have some similar experiences in life, the vast majority of the things that will go on in a single person's life will never be experienced by another person.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I want to say this, and I know it's inherently correct, but most people won't get it when I say this. Life is set up as a series of paradoxes. and ironies, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's, things you want to believe aren't the way they are, and the reason they aren't the way they are is because they are the way they are. And
Word.
yeah, and that's where we in, folks. I'm just playing. I'm gonna leave you with that. And what I mean when I say that is, and with, without touching on all the subjects that encompasses, is good is defined by bad, black is defined by white. You know what I mean? And dark is defined by light. So,
have you gone Taoist on me?
Man, look,
they're not wrong though. They're not wrong.
And I think in order to be a well-rounded individual, you have to be able to reach outside your own culture and then validate someone else's.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because being able to validate someone else's culture, I think, reinforces your own.
Exactly. Reinforces your culture and your humanity.
It does.
We are all of one.
Yeah.
Of one world. We all live.
Yeah.
We all have the same. I won't say the same, but we all have a pretty similar basic set of morals.
Yeah, for sure. I think at the root we do, and that's why when people talk about what do they call it, like man-made law, and then you have nature law. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's because on a fundamental level, we all believe the same things, right? We believe, the majority of us believe that killing is bad. The majority of us believe that.
The majority of us understand that killing is bad.
Understand it. Yes, mm-hmm. You're correct. And the majority of us, understand stealing is wrong. The majority of us understand that someone that is in a position that's not as privileged as ours, may require some help, and we understand that helping them is inherently good. Mm-hmm. It's those basic things, the idea of goodwill, the idea of being a good person, and the idea of bettering oneself are all inherent things that I believe we're born with, and in every culture they teach at on some level. And when you're able to go, okay, these are the basic things that connect us. These are the things that make us alike. And then you go to the next level, right? Okay, if those are the things that make us alike, then what are the things that makes it different? And right, and then you're on that level and like, okay, cool. These things make this group different, and those things make that group alike. And then the next level is what things make me different. And then right, and so then you're like, okay, all these people share these characteristics, and then you go group individual, exactly. Until you find out, here I am. You know what I mean? Like, this is me.
Here's the truth of me.
Yes, absolutely.
The self.
And on none of those levels did you force anyone else to conform to your process.
No.
Because that was a self-discovery. It involved you, just you, yourself, right? It was a self-epiphany. It involved you and no one else.
So now that we've laid out these ideas, I think we both pretty solidly agree on.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about the Rachel Dolezal thing? Because I don't know if you saw her, but she's getting a Netflix.
Wait, who?
A Netflix show. Rachel Dolezal. She was the woman who was the head of one of the NAACP chapters.
Oh. Okay, so here's the deal, mm-hmm. Right? Here's the deal with that, and I'm only gonna have one position on that, and it's not gonna be complex at all, right? If you lie about who you are, you're bad. I don't care, mm-hmm. Right? The moment you begin to lie about who you are and try to benefit from that, that's just bad. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Now, and here's the monkey wrench in the whole thing, but that doesn't apply to her though, mm-hmm. Right? If you grow up around a specific group of people, right, and this is the life that you know and understand, and you just identify with people who act like this, that's not wrong.
No.
That's not wrong, right? Culture isn't color based.
No.
But lying is
huge.
Is a basic moral standard that I believe that we have to we all have to agree that that's bad, and I think that's the space where that falls in.
'Cause that's where it breaks. I mean, that's lying is the breakdown of communication. It's the breakdown of being able to understand another person, and my point of view on her story in particular was that I have no problem with her calling herself black. I don't care. Like, I don't. Black is a word that has so many meanings, and yet no like one specific meaning that anybody can really agree on. That I think whatever, she can call herself black all day. She was doing great things, and then as the chairwoman of the chairperson of the NAACP, I have no issue with that. But when she was giving out pictures of somebody else as her parents and saying that her parents were black, and that she basically just building this narrative that did not represent her real life, that's where I'm like, that's not right.
Right. And the thing about it is she did that thinking that people would accept that better than her truth. Right.
And I think on a level, she's not wrong. On a level, I mean,
you're talking about you're saying she's not wrong on thinking that would work.
She's not wrong on a level where there are definitely some people who would not, regardless of what she said, like, but regardless of how she lived, they would not accept her.
Yeah, for sure.
Which, I mean, to accept her as, for example, my mother is the palest, whitest woman you will ever meet. However, she's a member of the NAACP. She's doing great things. I think on that level, she could have still she could have still done well within the community, but I think there is a separation. There is a place where the black community of that chapter would not have accepted her so openly.
Well, absolutely. But just because there's adversity there doesn't mean that you shouldn't go through it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's. I think we both agree on that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's kind of like, that's kind of where I feel about it. And, as far as, her identity, is concerned. And once again, that's her self-realization. If that's what she came to at the end of all of this discovery, then whatever. You know what I'm saying? That's her, that has to do with her. That doesn't really have anything to do with me.
I mean, because power to her.
Yeah. Honestly, you know what I'm saying? Because she's never knocked on this door over here, right, and walked into this house and ate any of this food, right, or, watched this TV or any of that. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't really have too much to do with me outside of the fact that she did try to make a quote unquote political gain from a lie. Yeah. And that's a problem. And that's a problem we see happening a lot. I mean, but that problem is politics. It is politics.
It is politics.
Man. One of the things that I think about when we talk about, like, identity crisis, or people's, you don't even really need to call it a crisis. I mean, I use crisis in the the proper definition of the word crisis. You know what I mean? Because it is. You do need to figure it out pretty quickly in life in order to get where you're trying to be. Right. If you have a goal, you have to figure out who you are first, and then you have to figure out what do you want, and then you have to figure out, why you're there. Like, why are you here? And so it is a crisis. You do have to figure it out in an emergency situation. So when you're talking about people's, identity crisis, one of the things that I think about that's going on right now is, there's so many young people out here that are bombarded with so many different ideas about different ways of life, other people's ways of life. You know what I mean? We have a full community like our LGBT, relative community. You know what I'm saying? And which are great people. I know plenty of people as part of that community.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know as many as you, but I know a few, and person to person, incredible. But some of the narrative that people flip is very confusing and very it's hard to embrace for a lot of people, especially people that are trying to discover who they are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't leave enough room to be part of the pie. You know what I mean? In searching for your difference, you alienate yourself from your truth sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
and it's one of those things that's really, it's hard to talk about because it's an emotional conversation for everybody involved.
It has a lot of social weight.
Yeah, it does.
A lot of cultural.
It does have a lot of social weight, and honestly, it shouldn't. It shouldn't have a social weight, social weight to it. And the reason I say it shouldn't have a social weight to it is because at the essence of all of the conversations involved, where everyone is trying to define everything involved, you have me in the background waving my hands in the air and going, life is about two things: relationships and experiences. Hey guys, shut up and just be around one another long enough.
Shut up and just talk to each other.
This is actually what I was about to say, and I realized that doesn't make any sense.
But it does make sense. It's stop the crap and talk.
Talk, yeah. Converse.
Yeah.
Converse with one another.
Learn who you are, learn who somebody else is, and build that connection.
Right. Build relationships, right? Relationships are vehicles that people get in together in order to learn to relate. Mm-hmm. They're relationships. Okay?
Should I just put like a little, I don't know, UFO with a bunch of people sitting on it?
Yeah, like relationship. This is a relationship. You know what I'm saying? That's what a relationship is. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then experience life together. Learn how those people see life through their eyes. And then, hey, you people that that fall into those people categories, learn how the other people see life through their eyes too. Yeah. It's a two-way street.
It's amazing how fast us and them can turn into us once that conversation is had. And then not only do the benefits get spread out, but the issues get spread out, and people who have access to the cure-all, to the remedies of those issues can be a part of the story to fix those issues. Yeah. Like that's how much of the like American way has been changed by us opening up, us freely opening our borders to people from other countries who have different ideas, vastly differing ideas. But those vastly differing ideas combined with our ideas have created like ideas that supersede anything that either group could have come up with. Yeah. The them and us has become just the us. Like
if we didn't accept the ideas from people at the outside, let me just tell you what life would be like, right? We'd still live in huts. There wouldn't be no indoor plumbing. There'd be no peanut butter. I don't know about you. Peanut butter is huge. I have 3 big behind jars of peanut butter in the pantry right now because peanut butter goes best on celery, but that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day.
That's disgusting. I hate you. Celery, get out of here with your water sticks.
You can get out of my relationship. Or drop you off at the corner. You can pick up the next ship.
Right.
But what I'm saying is life would be so different without outside cultural influence in our society.
Absolutely.
We sure as hell wouldn't have all this great food on Thanksgiving. That's for sure.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We wouldn't have Thanksgiving.
No.
There'd be no Christmas. You know, there'd be no Hanukkah.
There'd be literally no innovation in the world. Literally no furtherment. We would not have the lives we live. The we were kind of talking about this earlier, but like the privilege of certain people, and when you really break it down, we are all privileged to some degree.
Oh, to some degree, absolutely.
Whether it be our race / ethnicity, our nationality, our sexuality, our identity, whatever we identify as.
Man, look. So I get exactly what you're saying, and what was rolling through my head while you were talking there is I'm reading a book right now, and it's the book Charlemagne the God. It's the name of the book is Black Privilege, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's so amazing to read because at first my first reaction to Charlemagne, this dude is a butthole. I don't like him, right? He is, man, and when you hear him on radio and he just says what he says and then he just sits there and looks at you like, oh yeah, I said it, deal with it. This is it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now I'm going through the book and and it's making me gain more and more respect for that level of attitude. And he calls himself by something different in the book, which I've never heard before. He says, I'm a demotivational speaker. Right? And my first reaction was that, like, what are we talking about?
Wait, what?
Right. What is this? What are we talking about? But then he explains it, right? And one of the things he says in the book, and I'm gonna quote, verbatim his words in the book, so nobody be offended when I say this. But he says, "Fuck your dreams," right? And I was like, "What do we?
But what?
But what? But I thought we was trying to sell books. What happened? Like, what was you doing? What did you do, Charlemagne? But then he explains himself, right? And he's like, there's a whole lot of people out here that's living other people's dreams. Mm-hmm. Right? That's not your dream. That's somebody else's dream, right? In this building right now, there's 29 people that believe that they're gonna make it being rappers. Stop it.
You're not wrong.
Stop it, right? That's somebody else's dream. That dream's not for you. Maybe you're proficient in numbers. Maybe you have steady hands and you need to be a surgeon, right? Those are skills in which you can build a healthy life on, and you can benefit society. You rapping is not one of them. You know what I mean? And these people are trash. Not all of them, but a lot of them are trash. Some of them are decent, but that's still not your dream. Right. That's a dream that you saw on the TV somewhere because somebody that looked like you is that, and that's how they were making it, right? And so you believe the only way to get out of your situation is to follow their path instead of discovering your own based on your own abilities, right? And you can see the tone in my voice has changed at this point because I'm talking about something that's very passionate to me, right? And when he says I'm a demotivational speaker, that's what he's talking about. He's going to demotivate you from trying to reach someone else's dream.
Yeah.
Right? We, as a community of people, we have to stop allowing that to happen where we don't allow our youth to truly be who they're supposed to be, right? We give them these pipe dreams that are projections on our failures.
Ooh, okay.
You see that? You see what I did there? Right? We give them these pipe dreams that are projections of our failures and say, fit in this box because this is the box I couldn't fit in, and I need somebody that holds my last name to fulfill it.
That's true. That's heavy. Yeah.
Yes.
I think to a level that's necessary. To a level, a parent needs a guardian, a leader needs to motivate the young into a direction that I won't say into such a targeted direction, but just motivate them into a direction of success. I mean, instead of going down that route of like, I couldn't be a rapper, so you should be a rapper. I think a leader should, a guardian, adult, whatever, should motivate the young to go down the route of, I'm successful, or I'm not successful, or I'm moderately successful, but you can be more. You can do better than I did.
That's what they're supposed to do, right? And that's how you're supposed to be, is driving someone towards being better, towards being successful. However, what also gets lost in the conversation on being successful is, what does success mean to you?
Right.
Everybody's success isn't built the same.
Exactly.
It's not the same definition.
It's not that white picket fence.
No, it's not, man. Some people's success is simply being able to not worry about where the money's coming from every month. That's success, right? Some people's success is being able to motivate and inspire millions of people. That's not everybody's success either. Some people's success is not rooted in finances or influence. Some people's success is rooted in the ability to be left alone.
Or to travel the world, to meet many, many people.
Yes.
To make a big difference in the world.
Right.
There's so many levels of success. So many. I won't even say levels. It's a spectrum of success.
We've heard that word spectrum too many times tonight.
Spectrum.
But no, you're absolutely, you're 100% correct. You have to ask yourself, what does success mean to you? And I promise, the first time you answer this question won't be the last time you answer this question, and your last answer will not be the same as your first.
Right. You're right.
Because it's not, the answer isn't the important part. It's the process that's important. Remember that. It's the process by which we get there that's important. Because getting there is easy. That's the easy part.
Is it easy?
Yeah. Once you're there, it's easy. It's easy.
Yeah, once you're...
Point A is easy and point B is easy. It's the line in between that's the hard work.
You're right.
Right? I'll pull another one out of Charlemagne's book. Outside of what the man said, the one that Charlemagne put the best, that is close, the most closely related to what we're talking about. He said, "Put the weed in the bag first, make money later." For real. And when he said it, because I'm not a weed man, he had to explain it for it to make sense to me. But it applies to every part of life, right? It's kind of like what we do, right? You know, make the content first. Worry about the money later. Do what you love first. Learn that process first. Don't go out here and demand millions of dollars for work that you never put in. Right? Why should I pay you $10 for your CD on the corner, Mr. Sir? I don't know you.
Right.
You didn't put the work in. And fundamentally speaking, I will never pay you for your CD on the corner. I'm sorry. People ask me all the time, and I hand them the CD right back.
No.
You know why? Because I'm in the same business as you, and I've put out so much free work that it would make your head spin. So no, I'm not buying your CD. And me not buying your CD doesn't mean I don't support you. I do support you, but I will support the work that you put in. You hand me a free CD, I'll listen to it. You make me pay for it, I'm not buying your CD, and I'll never look your name up again.
That's real. Why do they hand you the CD first and then say, so that'll be $10?
Because nobody ever taught them how to sell.
Right. You're gonna rob me now? Is that what that is?
Right. Nobody ever taught them how to sell. Nobody taught them how to build value.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, if you was to walk up to me first and say, hey, look, man, I'm trying to do this crazy project, right? And I have a goal of $1,000. Can you donate $3 towards my project and my goal? And then for that $3, I give you a CD. I'd be like, you know what, young man, I like the way you did that. I'm gonna give you these $3, and you know what I'm saying? Just give me a business card.
Depending on the story he comes up with, I'd be willing to give.
Yes, because he
20, 50
he
bucks.
gave value to those dollars that didn't have value to me.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? It's because you young cats haven't been taught how to sell. You don't know how to sell. I've been selling all my life. So I'm gonna leave this whole conversation saying this. Same thing I said earlier. Life is about two things: relationships and experiences. Put the weed in the bag first. Give money later. Look, this has been a fun conversation with you guys. Of course, we love hearing back from you. So go ahead at the bottom of this video, hit that like button if you like the video. If you want to hear more videos like this, hit that subscribe button, and also stay tuned for the audio link to the podcast and future podcasts coming off of this one, because this has been a great conversation. So, deuces.